Welcome back to Rebel Intel. I'm your host, Ed Wasson, and today I have got with me Sergeant Matt Dimmitt of Lawton PD. Now, he is here with us to talk to us today about certain things and dynamics going on in Lawton. He's here in civilian attire with the permission of a captain to speak in an unofficial capacity, so I'm not going to ask him too hard of questions, but we do have some pretty tough questions to ask him because we're talking about certain issues that are impacting a lot of communities across the country. As you guys know, I've been talking about some of these issues with the overdoses and the pouring of illegal substances into the country, transnational issues, the mafias, the cartels, some internal domestic issues as well. Welcome, Sergeant Matt Dimmitt. How you doing today, sir?
Doing great. Thank you for having me.
Well, I appreciate you being on. How long have you been on with Lawton PD?
For 20 years.
20 years. Bet you've seen a thing or two.
It's been a wild ride.
Yeah. What are you currently doing?
So currently right now I'm a patrolman. I just left the community policing division where I was dealing with working with community groups, civic groups, and different organizations to help better the community and build bridges between the community and the police department.
Outstanding. Now, you know I collaborate with Dr. Brenda Spencer Ragland, and she's really big on servant leadership and transformative leadership. So you're involved at that capacity in your church and in the community as well, right?
Absolutely.
So when we talk about these things with like servant leadership and transformative leadership, here's where we come into some kind of tough questions or inquiries that I have for you, because I recently learned that Oklahoma scored dead last in the nation as far as education goes.
Yes.
And then within Oklahoma, Lawton's not doing too well. So what are we doing about that, Matt?
So on our end as law enforcement, the big thing that we push is getting into the schools,
Right.
And talking with kids from an early age to help, one, get them used to seeing police officers in a informal setting where it's not just when mom and dad's in trouble or mom's getting pulled over or whatever it is. It's in an informal where they can ask questions freely. We let them ask anything from what's our favorite pizza to what's the worst call we've ever been on and everything in between.
Oh.
And so we have that side of it. Then we also explain our duty belts and what we wear and why we wear it. And we bring canines in and other things so that the kids don't have a fear of us. They have an interest, and we can help work with them and teach them how to stay out of trouble,
Right.
What'll get you into trouble. And then we also do a Citizens Police Academy for kids called the Junior Academy. We do that during the summer where we bring kids in from ages 14 to 18 and some a little younger, but we work with them to show them everything that the police department does, why we do it, and also show them that everything they see on TV isn't the truth. And so it's really helped us work with kids, and especially those that have parents that are maybe in prison, that are in and out of jail, that we can help build a respect and also work with them to show them that the life of crime isn't the only way. It's a way to go through life, but it's not a good way, and that there is other avenues, and there's people that care, and the police department and our officers really do care about the kids and the rest of the community and working with them.
Outstanding. That sounds really cool. Back in the day, I was a cop for a little while, and then I got into the National Guard. We did counter drug, and we had two missions with the counter drug interdiction, and what we called that DI, and we had drug demand reduction, which we called DDR. So we went through that state's National Guard had what they called gotcha, guard operations, teaching children healthy attitudes. And then we all of us went through DARE and GRADE as well. Do you guys still have programs like that?
So we do, but it is through the school system. So in Lawton, our school system have their own police department, their own chief of police, the whole 9 yards. So they have a DARE program. We piggyback with them, and we do Red Ribbon Week, and we do a bunch of other activities throughout the year with the school, but we piggyback with the Lawton Public Schools.
Oh, so there's the Lawton Police Department,
Mm-hmm.
and then the Lawton Public School do they call themselves police departments or
Yes.
public security or
No,
safety?
they are CLEAT certified
Okay.
police officers for the state of Oklahoma.
And they're going to be the ones that are more ramped up on those types of programs that are more community outreach oriented and
No.
student or
No,
whatever?
it's just student.
Just student.
Yeah, they'll work. They work hand in hand with us. We're a very unique community in the sense of we have everything from federal officers in Lawton all the way to sheriff's departments down to Lawton Public Schools officers, college officers, campus police. Everything we've got, I think it's somewhere close to 7 different police agencies inside of our own police, inside our own city limits.
And with Fort Sill, they have the military police there, but they also have CID.
Yes.
So you end up probably having to work with them on the detective
And they
side,
have
right?
a civilian police too.
Okay.
So they've got 3 different levels of police on Fort Sill alone.
Wow. Do you guys ever collaborate with National Guard or anybody else on like drug demand reduction missions or DI missions or whatever else they do?
Our special operations work a lot with DEA and with OBN and those, and they do a lot of joint work. And then we also work with the Marshal Service a lot and do roundups or big pickups of wanted people.
Okay.
Not like an ICE roundup type deal, but more of a these are all these wanted people, and we're going to get a list of 60 people, and we're going to go hit the whole county.
Yep.
So they'll go to Cache and Elgin and Indiahoma and all the little small towns, not just Lawton, and they'll hit all of them at one time.
Okay. Speaking of ICE, is that type of issue with any type of illegal migration, is that a huge issue here, or are there other issues that are bigger?
To me, the bigger issues that we have are more of drug intervention types of things where we've got large quantities coming in from south of the border, whether it's Mexico or other countries, but it's being funneled through Brownsville, through the border towns,
right,
and then coming up the interstate. So then we also have it coming in through the Panhandle and coming in from that side, coming through Elk City,
okay,
and then down and around that way also.
So you're kind of in a crosshairs here.
Yes.
North, south, east, west.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you get it coming and going. There used to be, back when I was a cop in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So it was almost pretty much the gospel back then was if they're going west, they usually have or south, they usually have the money. Mm-hmm. If they're going east or north, they usually have the product. But I hear that the dynamic has changed over the last 10 or 20 years.
Yeah, because we also now grow our own drugs.
That's true.
So you've got drugs that are leaving the state to go to states that aren't a medical marijuana state.
Right.
So Texas can't grow it, so it has to come from Oklahoma and go south, or it has to go to Arkansas, or it has to go from our state out. So those rules worked on large quantities coming out of the southern state, out of Mexico or out of Texas. But anymore, we have just as much leaving the state due to the medical marijuana grow as we do the fentanyl and all that coming into the state from Mexico.
I'm from New Mexico, so New Mexico, it's 100% legal, even for what they call it, recreational use. So they're a source state now. They used to be a source border state, right? And now they're a source state.
Right.
And of course, a transit state as well. I think that's your biggest problem here in Oklahoma is you're kind of in the middle. So you can be a transitory state or a transit state, plus you have growth, and some of it stays here for consumption as well.
Correct.
What's your outlook as far as like human smuggling and human trafficking of various sorts here? Do you know?
So we do see it, not in huge quantities. We don't have a lot of as far as in Lawton area, I can't speak for any of the other agencies, but as far as what we have, it's more prostitution deals where we see human trafficking. Okay. Not so much of grabbing a kid off the street, throwing them in a van, and driving off with them.
Okay.
We see where you get kids that are through in and out of foster care, in and out of state's custody, or they're in a troubled household and they're trying to escape that. And so these Johns, these men prey on those women that are hurting, that are vulnerable, that are in need of somebody to support them. So they're like, sure, I'll support you.
Yeah.
I care about you. I love you.
Yeah.
Go make me money.
Yeah, disgusting.
Yes, I 100% agree with you.
And that's a sad situation a lot of people find themselves in, and it kind of goes back to a core issue is the economy and the education. Um, what are you seeing or feeling as far as a vibe as to the outlook here in Lawton? Are we, as far as education and economy, are we seeing improvements or status quo, or what do we got going on?
I would love to say that we're getting better, but it's a trickle down effect. So, if you don't as a state put a focus on education, the product that you're pushing out of the schools
Mm-hmm.
doesn't put an emphasis on jobs.
Right.
So then you don't have kids going to college. You don't have kids going to trade schools. You don't have kids doing those other things to make where they can have a nice livelihood. So now you're pushing out a product that is subpar.
Right.
So then what do they get? They get subpar jobs.
Right.
So then you have a job market that is subpar because there's not a group of people that is educated or that is experienced enough to work in a job field. So those jobs go to other towns where there is a market for tech jobs and
Right.
for higher paying military, technical jobs on that end of it. So it's a downward spiral on that end of it. The other side that we see is generational wealth in other cities.
Yeah.
We have generational poverty in a lot of Oklahoma cities.
Oh, yeah.
And so when you don't have parents that understand how to invest, how to push money, or even have money to invest, you then have kids that find other means to get those things. They still want the shoes.
Yeah.
They still want the nice clothes. They still want the nice car. So what do? You find the only job you can do. So you start stealing. You start selling drugs. You start selling people.
Yeah.
Whatever you can do to make yourself feel like you're important or that you have status. And so the drug life, the gang life, the criminal side of it is a quick fix and a quick money maker for these young kids. And so we do have a large group of young individuals that that go to the crime side instead of the education side. And if we keep pushing kids through and not holding them back to help them get better educated, sometimes it's okay to fail a grade because you weren't ready. And so you need to hold some kids back to
Sure.
get them a better education. And so I really think if we focused on, it wouldn't be a quick fix, but I really think if we focused on education a lot more and put a whole lot more money into it, 10 years from now, the product would be so much better and our state would be in a lot better position.
So it comes from the state and then down to certain communities, and in this community, despite having the military base and everything here, you'd think some of that would also trickle down into an impact on education and the economy. Not really seeing it too much on the ground. What what is the major issue? Is it transient, or is it generational lack of education and poverty? Is it just the whole legal drug culture here, almost legal drug culture?
I would lean less on the drugs. I think drugs are a product.
Okay.
It is people that are depressed, people that are struggling, people that are hurting look for something, whether that's church or they lean towards education, or they lean towards drugs. You've got a whole gamut of what people lean on when they go through hard times. Some people are grab your bootstraps and pull them up and work harder.
Yeah.
Other people are they find the bottle, they find the needle, they drown their pain in other sources. And then other people are, well, if I'm struggling, I'll just go steal. I'll make it happen. So I think that's a product. I think if Lawton is a very tricky town in the sense of we do have a military base, and you would think that would be a benefit, but we have a transient military base.
Mm.
We are a training facility. We're not this is where I'm going to, live my life out on Fort Sill. It's, I'm here for 6 months, I'm here for 3 years, and then I'm out. Like, I don't really have any ties to this town. I don't want to stay in this town. This is just where I'm at right now.
Mhm.
And I'm moving on. We have the young soldiers. So we have a whole lot of 20-year-old soldiers.
Okay.
And we have a whole lot of guys that are getting ready to get out. But we don't have a lot of the family, the in-betweenies in there that are, they're 10-year, 15-year guys. We have a lot of 20 plus, and we have a lot of 3 plus, the young guys.
Yeah.
Or 3 minus, sorry.
So balancing it between homelessness, addiction, transit on one side, and then we also have just a state that's in bad shape, and the, as you called it, generational education, lack of education, and the poverty situation. Between those two, which do you think is the forerunner in that, is the like maybe a main focus to try to tackle?
So to me, in Lawton, our biggest issue on homelessness has nothing to do with the military.
Okay.
The homelessness is this whole own individual issue. You got two kind of separate communities in this town. Homelessness to me, what I've been seeing and what I've seen talking to people is it comes out of, we have a prison here.
Okay.
So we have what used to be called GO. I don't know what they call it now. I'm not really sure. But it's one of the major prisons in the state. Those people, when they get released, sometimes they just get dropped off in our community. Well, that's not a fair, regardless of what they went into jail for, when they've done their time, they've done their time. Well, they get dropped off in the community with a felony.
Yeah.
They get dropped off in the community with no job. And they get dropped off at the Salvation Army and say, here, go make a life of yourself. That's impossible.
Yeah.
You can't restart your life with a felony, with all this stuff and no support. The other thing we have is a bus stop. Well, the bus stop it goes from Chickasha to Lawton to Wichita Falls down to Dallas.
Okay.
It doesn't go east and west. So if you got somebody who is wanting to go to Altus, they get dropped off in Lawton. And that's where they stop. So now they become Lawton, I wouldn't say a problem, but they become Lawton's issue to help them get to the next stage. Well, there's no way to get them there. There is no other buses that go east and west. So we end up becoming a hub for all these different towns because they get sent, well, I want to go back to Duke, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Well, they drop them off in Lawton, Oklahoma, and that's the end of the line.
Yeah, that's as close as you get.
That's as close as you get. So we got that issue. And then we do have a very poor community of residents that are born and bred. Not so much military, but they maybe came here because of a soldier or because of family that was in the military. But then that family member moved off, and now they stayed.
Yeah.
And they have no support system here. They're just here on their own. And so then you end up with a whole group of people here that they have, or their family member dies. They were maybe here because of a retired soldier. Mm-hmm. Well, when they die, they lose the house, and they have no support system from that point on. And then the other elbow of that is we have 2 mental health hospitals in this town.
Okay.
That are state ran. And when they get released from those, a lot of times they don't go back to where they came from, whatever town. They walk out the door, and now they're a part of our community. So then we have mental health patients that are going through treatment or that are part of some type of bigger issue, and we just don't have any other means to really help with the mental health side of it. We have those 2 hospitals, but there's not a lot of other options for us as law enforcement. We take them, drop them off at the outpatient center, or we take them and drop them off at the inpatient center, but they're there and then they get released again. And so there's a whole lot of different moving parts in there that lead to why we have a large amount of either say homeless or close to homeless, where they are struggling to even pay the electric bill. So that's, to me, is more of the bigger issue. And then they're all so different that you can't just put it's like a big jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
And everybody is a different shape, and it takes that special thing to fit, to make it work. And if you don't have cooperation from everybody, where they all work together for the common good, and the common good is these are all human beings. Mm-hmm. Every single homeless person, every single drug addicted person out there is somebody's kid,
Mm-hmm.
somebody's mom, it's somebody's dad, somebody's brother, sister. And if we will stop saying, but I want it to make me look good.
Right.
It doesn't matter whether it makes you and I look good. It's about, do we help this person in need?
Right.
Did we do everything we could to fix what's going on in their life, or at least help assist them on getting started and getting a reboot? Because none of us would be where we're at without somebody giving us a hand.
Right.
Nobody does it on their own.
That's right.
And so just because they don't have the support system that we do doesn't make them any less of a person. Just means they may need a little more help.
Right.
And that's where, if we all work together, I think homelessness is one of those things it can be fixed, in the sense of, we're never going to stop homelessness as a whole, right? But if we can attack the things that are the most important, drug addiction, alcohol addiction, sex addiction, those things that cause people to go into homelessness because of situational things, we can work on those.
Yeah.
We can't ever fix somebody who just wants to live on the street. That they just like to live on the streets. We can't fix that. But I can sure help somebody who's escaping domestic violence,
right,
and they're just living on the street. I can sure help somebody who's got a drug or alcohol problem. I can get people in there that can help them. I can help somebody who's financially lost their job and they just can't get their feet planted. They're just on that slippery slope. I can help those people that want help. And if we can focus on them, that other group that wants to just live on the streets, a very small number.
Right. And that's something I've been talking with Dr. Spencer Ragland about, is that we've understood. I know this is frustrating as a law enforcement officer, because I was there too, and I was like, these people over here, they don't want help. This is a lifestyle for them. So what's question is out of a little bit of curiosity. What is your stance or take on the aspect of the casinos? Because the casinos are even, I think they can be even more of a negative factor in a community like this.
I can't speak on the casino side, because we're in a whole different jurisdiction. Casinos are all on tribal land.
Okay.
So there is no casinos that are on state-owned property. So we don't respond to the casinos. The either Bureau of Indian Affairs or the Comanche Nation Police Department have to respond to those. So we don't get to see what goes on inside the casinos as far as drug use or alcohol use or gambling addiction things. But what we do see on our end of it is the financial strain.
Right.
And anytime you put any outside entity into a family that takes money away from putting food on the table, paying the bills, doing all that, it's not a help.
No.
Now, I can't say that their money doesn't go to good causes, because they do help certain things around the community. So I can't say it's all bad. But for those that have financial prosperity, a casino's great. It's go out and have fun. It's just entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
But for somebody who's struggling to pay the house bill, and they're going out to the casino to make enough money to pay the house bill,
right,
that's when they lose their house and they lose everything. And then it's like, well, what happened?
Yeah.
Well, I was trying to make my money out there. How about we go get a second job?
Yeah.
And so I feel for those people that they truly are trying to help their family, but they're going about it the wrong way. And again, we go back to education.
Yeah.
If we better educate our community, I think there's so much more benefit to sitting down and having honest conversations with people. A lot of times we try to butter things up and make it sound good and make it, where it's politically correct and all this stuff. And sometimes people just need to hear the hard truth.
Right.
And I've found that in my profession, when I'm dealing with people, when I'm bluntly honest in a way, I get more respect from them, because they're like, I appreciate you just giving it to me. When I'm going out on a lady who's been beat up by her boyfriend for the 20th time, and I tell him, he's going to kill you.
Yeah.
Eventually, you're going to get either hospitalized or you're going to end up dead.
Yeah.
there's no other out unless they go to counseling, drug rehab, alcohol rehabilitation, or to get into a church or something where they get a mind change, where they stop looking at you as a wife or as a girlfriend as an object and not as an equal in this relationship. Nothing's going to change. And so that's where the police department, I can say, honest to God, we really do focus on trying to educate. We put on so many different classes, so many different things to help try to make the community safer through education, not just going out and writing tickets and
Right.
coming up with new laws and things to get passed. We really do try to work with the community to educate, because you do have to put a focus on trying to teach people a better way or a smarter way of doing things, and also not assuming that everyone knows the same thing. Because what I assume, or what you assume I know, or what I assume you know,
Yeah, I don't know that.
completely different, because you may be from Minnesota, and Minnesota's laws and rules are different than Oklahoma. So we get a lot of things that people assume that we should know, and we assume people should know about law enforcement, and it's not true. So you have to go out and educate. You educate people in the sense of, I'm going to assume you know nothing, and if you know this, please tell me. But I'm going to educate you like you know nothing, so that we don't miss anything.
Right. So on those notes, and going towards two avenues of approach on it. With the education comes like a nefarious situation, demand reduction, and then other education and intervention. But on the actual enforcement side, how aggressive would you say Lawton is out here? Are they about right aggressive? Or are they a little bit lax? Could they be more aggressive?
No, I would say we really do try to give. We work it on both ends. That we say, on certain issues we are a zero tolerance. So drinking and driving,
Right.
zero tolerance. Drug possession, zero tolerance.
Like DV.
Domestic abuse,
Yeah.
domestic assault on children, any type of assault on children, zero tolerance.
Yeah.
But on the other side, where we have people that are, maybe they're public intox,
Right.
or they are sleeping, in front of businesses, or trespassing and things like that. The lesser of the evils, if you want to call it that.
Mm-hmm.
We try to give people the benefit of the doubt, and we try to work with people, and we do try to get them home, or try to get them to a shelter, or try to get them to a rehab center, or we do try to do as much as we can, or get them a bus ticket to get them home to where they do have family.
Right.
We found that finding that support system is way more important than putting somebody in jail.
Yeah.
So if I can get you on a bus back to Ohio, where your brother and your sister-in-law and your grandkids, or whatever, live, and they're going to be there to get you off the bus and take care of you and get you back on your feet, much rather do that than send you in jail for 10 days.
Sure.
And so our chief's office is very, very much so on giving people help on that end, and city management and all them have too. But when it comes to when it's crimes against other people,
Right.
we are very. It is what it is. Sorry, sorry for your bad luck. You're going to go to jail today.
Right.
And so that's we do have two different avenues. So I would say we're pretty well on par on that end of it. Manpower is always an issue.
Right.
And so I think a lot of our downsides is just manpower issues.
I've got a friend that just retired from Albuquerque police, and he said they've had manpower issues, I know, for 20 or 30 years, I think. Now, the problem previously has been partially economy and politics, mm-hmm. and the mayor and people not wanting to join for whatever reasons. Now, for the last 10 or so years, he said the issue is they don't have a pool of candidates that are meeting the bare minimum qualifications.
Yep.
And that's a problem in the military as well. So Are you seeing that here?
100%. When we go and do background checks on people, you can't use drugs. Well, when society is pushing that drugs are good, drugs help you get through things, this medical marijuana is great.
Mm-hmm.
I read a package the other day. We arrested a lady. She was smoking weed out in front of a business, and the cop walked up. She blew it in his face, and was like, "All right, where like, come on, there are smarter ways to do things in life."
Yeah.
But when I held the package up, one of the packages for the medical marijuana stuff said, "This is a cancer-causing product."
Mm-hmm.
What doctor prescribes something that causes cancer? That doesn't sound very medical to me. But I digress from that. But when we do background checks, domestic violence is an automatic kicker of people.
Right, because that's a federal thing now.
Mm-hmm.
They can't no longer, if they've been convicted, pled guilty, or even NOLO of a DV,
Yep.
even a misdemeanor,
Correct.
they can no longer possess a firearm or even ammunition or anything.
Right. And then you have a society right now that, when I was growing up, going to jail was looked at as a horrible thing. Like, it was a disgrace to your family. You had grandma calling, going, "You better get cold to your kid," because he's making our family look bad. Now, I arrested a lady one day, and she goes, "Am I going to city jail?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Oh, good. They'll put me in there with my grandma and my mom." 3 generations was locked up at the same time. She just wanted to be in prison or in jail, city jail, with her grandma and her mom. So now
It's almost normalized
it's just normal.
culturally.
It's just part of life. You go to jail sometimes. Well, that's not right. That's where we got to change those mindsets of people, that jail's not the first option. That's not where you need to hang out and meet new friends. That's not life. That's not normal.
It could be worse. It could be southern Lebanon, where terrorism is normalized.
and I do thank God for that. We have not had terrorist. We've had a couple different issues, but they were a pocket issue of their own. It wasn't some big organizational thing where we've had terrorist type stuff around here. Majority of what we've had around here, we've had some cartel things and stuff like that because of drug trafficking.
Right. And now with Trump in, that's basically going to be considered terrorism now.
Yes. But as far as the rest of it, I would say if we could work with getting kids educated and teaching them that drugs and jail and domestic violence and all this stuff is not okay, then the pool of applicants in the long run will get better. The other side is we have a news media out there that really pushes the negative, and instead of giving some good stories about law enforcement and what's going on, all they want to push are the negative things. And in any group of people, you take 1 million police officers, there are going to be bad apples.
Sure.
No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You take 1 million doctors, there's going to be some bad apples in there. But if all we talk about are those bad apples, then nobody wants to become a cop.
Right.
They're like, "Oh my gosh, all I hear about is how horrible these guys are." How do you ever expect to have the good guys that really are going to make a difference in the community if you push how bad they are all the time? You've got to tell good with the bad. And I'm not saying not to ever talk about bad officers, because they need to be put on the hot seat for those ones that are doing bad. But you also need to praise those that are doing good in the community. And there is a lack of that out there, of the praising of good officers too.
Now, going along with that, and this is kind of a tricky and tough question. I'm trying to figure out how to word it best. But if we looked at criminology and different criminological philosophies, there's a Marxist criminal philosophy. Are you familiar with that?
Explain it so I'd make sure we're on the same.
So the understanding that I have is that this is kind of like the people that would be like defund the police. Mm-hmm. They have a leftist Marxist ideology that says, sort of like, capitalism and enforcement is the problem. So if we just eliminate that, they think that everybody's going to act okay.
Right.
And I just don't see that happening. Do you have a take on that?
Well, we saw it firsthand play out on news
Mhm.
when Seattle did the no cop zone
Right.
during the riot stuff. Well, there was still crime.
Sure.
Crime didn't just magically go away. Women didn't magically stop getting assaulted. Kids didn't magically just stop getting abused. The bad apples were still there. They were just covered in this wall, this magical wall that said no cops are allowed in there. Anytime you have anything, you've got to have somebody that comes in to enforce those things to keep the whole safe.
Mm-hmm. And the going to that point, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, and this goes to like a sanctuary city scenario.
Yes.
My friend in Albuquerque, they had a park that they just let in a public park.
Right.
They let the homeless basically take it over. They had a leader that they called the mayor of that park. He's in prison now for murder. He's going to be tried soon. I don't understand the level of leadership at the mayor level that thinks that this is a good idea. So I'm having a hard time wrapping my brain around it, and I'm just seeing if you have any puzzles that help fit.
Well, and it's really funny because when you really think about it, they don't want law enforcement because we're like the parents. So nobody wants their parent to tell them what to do and when to do it and all this stuff. But they're willing to go to jail where they get told when to wake up, when to go to bed, when to eat, when to, all these things.
What to eat?
Yeah, what to eat. Or they want to go live in a tent community or in a homeless encampment. But then as soon as you go to that homeless encampment, hey, who's in charge? Oh, well, that's the Bob over there is in charge.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't change. It's just a different mayor. It's just a mayor by, well, that's who's in charge. He's the loudest, or hey, he's a retired vet. He's the one that runs us. There's always going to be somebody in charge.
Right.
You go to a communist country, there's still somebody in charge.
Right.
They just don't get to vote on who that person is that's in charge.
They just take over.
Yes, exactly. And so the argument that you can send counselors in and take care of all the issues, I can promise you there isn't one counselor anywhere in the United States that's willing to walk in to a business where a guy's got a knife, he's high on PCP, running around naked with a knife, and they're going to walk in and go, "Sir, can we sit down and talk?"
Right.
We're not talking right now at that point.
Yeah.
This guy needs to get into handcuffs and get the knife out of his hand.
Right.
So that we can treat him for what he's under, whatever drug or whatever issues going on. Then we can have a counseling session after the fact.
Right.
But to say that we're going to send counselors in and social, DHS workers and all this to go fix things, it's impossible.
They tried that a long time ago in one of the towns I'm familiar with. They called their domestic abuse response team, they called it DART. And I think they still try to use it and implement it a little bit, but it's not as if they're going to be the first one. I think they go through the law enforcement academy and they're armed, but they still don't have police attitude and experience. They're there for the counseling part. They need a full-time enforcement officer to go in with them anymore. And I think it took a couple of them getting, unfortunately, perishing in situations before that town turned it around and said, "Now, wait a second. Whether it's a DART team or whatever, domestic violence is a 2-officer call, and one of those officers has to be a regular patrol officer."
I think if we're going to talk about things like that, and this is not police, this is just my personal opinion. You want to be able to do what you need to do. You need a vehicle that arrives that has 4 people in it. And those 4 people are 2 cops, a counselor, and a social worker. They can come out and they can handle everything at one time. A one-stop shop moving vehicle.
Okay.
But to do that is costly.
I was just going to say, public safety costs money. Here's another issue my friend was talking about after the Charlie Kirk situation. We looked at that, and he, before he retired, he did a lot of event stuff at big events in Albuquerque, And I said, what in the world was going on there? He said, I have the same issue here. He was trying to do stuff to improve things at the university. He said they just simply would not foot the bill, even though they had the money. He said, hey, you're going to have issues over here safety-wise because you have large crowd events and you see the trend of what's happening. And if you don't have this, this, and this, you're going to have some issues sooner or later. And despite having the budget, they just didn't want to spend the money on it. He said, hey, public safety costs money. If you don't want to spend the money on it, Pontius Pilate, I'm washing my hands of it. So you're not going to drag me down as far as liability goes.
It's not a fun subject to talk about when as a city or as a state or as a community, whatever it may be, you put a price tag on people's safety.
Exactly.
Nobody wants to talk about that side of it, but there is a price tag on people's safety. And if you are a town, I'll just give you an example of Edmond, where there is an abundance of financial money. There's an abundance of tax and everything else up there that they have the spendable income to put out the products they want. They can make it where you have to have a college degree to be hired on with them. You have to have all these things.
Right.
But they pay better.
Right.
So you come to another community where they say, hey, we're just happy that somebody applied for our police department.
Mm-hmm.
But they pay that way too.
Right.
So a lot of people don't realize a lot of police officers in the state of Oklahoma are also getting food stamps.
Yeah.
They're making they could make more working in McDonald's just flipping burgers than they could being a cop responding to calls. Well, what kind of product are you getting? What kind of people are you getting? Do those officers love the job? Yes. Are they in it for the right reasons? Yes. Are they going to make a 20-year career out of working somewhere for $9 an hour? No. They're going to move off and go do something else eventually. They may do it for a year or two. A year or two ain't enough to even learn how to do the job.
No.
I was 5 years in and still like, oh, I've never done this before.
Yeah.
I need help or I need more education. And the other side of that is the education I bring up. You got to keep training guys.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just stop and say, what? I sent you to CLEAT.
Right.
And for those that are listening, CLEAT is our state of Oklahoma school. That's what we all go through before you can get hired on as a police officer. You have to go through CLEAT, or during the first year of being hired on.
And that means certified law enforcement training.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Education.
Education.
Yeah. So you go through CLEAT, and they're like, "Good, you're blessed off. Good job." But you got to keep training guys.
You got to keep training. That's the same way with
Things change.
canines, narcotics, SWAT. The SWAT team will go through a 40-hour SWAT course almost once a month or so. And they go to the range all the time, and they practice their tactics, and they get with their various other impact teams. But let's go ahead and wheel it around and wrap it up, and let me ask you, what do you have for any, like, a final thought on what we've discussed? What's your biggest takeaway or final thoughts?
For me, it's all about your heart. You've got to have a heart to help people. In law enforcement, if your heart isn't in it to help people, go find another job.
Absolutely.
For those that are in the education department, if your heart isn't into making the product better, you need to go find another job. You've got to have a heart for those things that you're doing. And if you don't have a love and a desire to help those people that you're dealing with, go find something else.
Mm-hmm.
Because life's short, number one, but you've got to have a heart to help. And those positions, firemen, police, teachers, doctors, if you're doing it just because it's the only job or it pays the most or it's the only thing you think you can do, no, there's more options out there. The other side is it takes money to make things better, and you got to put effort and money into those things. And we need to have better mental health help in the state of Oklahoma. We need to have better education for our kids in the state of Oklahoma. And we need to put more effort and focus on law enforcement and education as a whole for the state of Oklahoma. And I think if you did those things, I think you would see a big change in the state of Oklahoma.
Outstanding. I agree on all points. And Sergeant Dimmitt, really greatly appreciate you speaking with me on this. I am going to have this uploaded onto a YouTube, and I will send it to you before pushing it out public. That way you get a chance to look at it. And if you have any edits, it'll be on your email, so you can email me back and say, here at minute 12:15, we had some sort of sound issue or whatever. But I really appreciate you talking with us, and good luck and everything in your future.
Yeah, absolutely.
And hopefully Lawton can start turning things around with the folks like you and Dr. Brenda Spencer Ragland.
Yeah.
And others that do have their heart
Absolutely.
in trying to make the community better.
We have seen a big difference. We have. There's been some very positive things going on.
I hope it continues.
Yes, sir.
Take care, brother.
Thank you.